Up until now, I've resisted an urge. Many authors fail to resist inundating their books with personal stories. However, here I believe one is in order. But if I play my cards right, you can still keep learning about important topics. How's that sound? At first, my research was completely geared to the Illuminati and Satanism specifically. I started reading books about Satanism and black magic, and noticed something that many Satanists partake in, using the names of multiple religions and mythologies to describe the same character. In the same sentence, Satanists would name 5 different gods from 5 different religions and declare that they were, in fact, the same entity. This was a conclusion that I came to independently. These black magicians made casual references to the biblical struggle of good and evil, the Greek and Egyptian gods, the Dajjal and Jinn of Islam, the Chi or life force of the Chinese and the chakras of the Hindus. They appeared to embrace the truth in every religion as if they took a bit of every religion and formed a new one, calling it the occult. But perhaps what has actually happened is that every religion has remaining shreds of occult truth, simply different shreds. This made the occult the purest remaining copy of the ultimate truth. From Jay-Z to David Rockefeller, the individual members of the Illuminati come from many different backgrounds and from many times and places, but the tie that is interwoven in all they do, the tie that truly binds, is the occult. Indeed, from where I was standing, all roads lead to the occult. Then, during further researching, I began to wander away from the exclusive realm of Satanism and black magic and turned its attentions towards the occult as a whole. In regards to the wider world of the occult, you'll generally run into 2 types of books: the philosophy of the occult and magic. Avoid the former. Books about occult philosophy that make no mention of the laws of magic are often laced with deliberate misinformation, cryptic terms, veiled remarks, and a respectable gallery of symbols. Who are more guilty than the Freemasons? Yet sadly, this is the chewed meat most reach for when studying the occult. Books about magic, on the other hand, spoke of the same things, but in more literal terms. Unlike Freemasonic authors and other occult philosophers who give grandiose titles to even the most elementary principles of magic, and even more pompous titles to themselves, the magician has dispensed with their misleading symbolism. What's more is that the New Age movement was founded upon the misleading teachings of these occult authors. Since the symbols unveiled, comments of these occult philosophers are always based on magic. Little true wisdom is to be gleaned from the text of these authors without knowledge of basic magical principles. Similar to how a dog views the English language as a series of meaningful keywords separated by mostly meaningless babble, our researcher will find himself scan-reading these texts for keywords that offer a few meaningful reference points he can cling to. Lucifer, the light Jachin and Boaz, and anything else that rings a bell. This constitutes the bulk of occult researchers. These very same magicians recommended a lifestyle and use of magical powers that anyone could call Christian. Some magicians, like our aforementioned Amberlin, recommended a lifestyle only the angels could touch. His emphasis regarding the moral use of magic and devotion to God became redundant even to the well-intentioned reader. But there was something else about these occult writers that drew me in. I found myself intrigued by their commentary about psychology, history, and the true nature of man in the universe. This commentary, streaming in from both good and bad magicians, was insightful enough to offer proof of their sanity, and crazy enough to be nearly beyond belief. They painted a picture of the universe. My rational mind was almost not ready for it. But guess it wasn't just their sanity that was in question, because they were doing no more than answering questions I've had all my life, like, why do I and everyone else do things so far outside the realm of self-preservation? Countless times have I looked back at acts of my life, both righteous and wicked, and said, what the hell was I thinking? It's obvious that both acts of charity, say giving canned foods, and acts of debasement, say buying a pack of cigarettes, will amount to some form of loss to the one who has chosen either extreme. I also had questions about the strange sensation I get every once in a while that I'm experiencing something that already happened, usually called déjà vu, even in a completely new and unforeseen environment. Sometimes I could swear I've already been here doing this, having this exact conversation. And what's up with the weird images that flood my mind in the last few moments before I actually fall asleep? Strange animations of objects in motion, people I don't know, landscapes I've never witnessed while in a visibly empty room. Why do I sometimes feel like I'm not alone? I had questions, and only because I was ready to know they had answers. Truly, all roads were leading to the occult. Word occult simply means hidden. This is not only a reference to hidden knowledge, but also the hidden properties that all things possess in the occult. All objects and spaces not only have chemical and physical properties, but hidden occult properties as well. Take holy water, for instance. When making holy water, the magician or Catholic priest performs a ritual that includes prayers that cleanse the water. After this, the water's hidden properties are clean, despite the fact that a chemist would claim that the water is unchanged. Those hidden properties of the water are not only clean, but the water can now be used to clean the occult properties of other objects and even people. This is the premise behind holy water. Although magicians and priests have similar intentions for making holy water, the methods are surely different. A magician will imagine himself reaching into the water and drawing out negative virtues. He will intensely visualize cleansing energy flowing into the water while saying a short prayer. The Catholic priest, on the other hand, is more likely to simply close his eyes rapidly, spout a hollow, well-memorized prayer over the water, and be on his way. I've heard many knowledgeable magicians recommend performing similar prayers and visualizations for food and water immediately before consumption. In essence, eating not but holy food and drinking not but holy water. Muslims perform this same act of cleansing by saying Bismillah. Before the meal is set in a hollow and faithless manner, Bismillah will have no effect, if said with faith and passion. However, Bismillah is claimed to purify the occult properties of their food, and even entire rooms for that matter. There are also types of magic that's holy and ordained. Take the exorcisms performed by Catholic and Islamic priests, for instance. Like magicians, these priests would separate a seducing spirit from its human host by invoking the many names of God aloud, and even claiming God's authority. And like a magician, these priests can succeed in freeing someone from demonic possession. This is nothing but magic. Uttering the names of God aloud does no more than produce a series of sound waves, which would affect the demon no more or less than any other pattern of sound waves. The sound waves produced by Bismillah should not be any more capable of cleaning occult properties or driving away evil spirits than saying purple spider monkey. Don't let this mere illustration of holy water, however, bring you to the conclusion that the hidden essence that lay in all things is no more than a one-dimensional scale, ranging from holy to evil. Just like an object has multiple physical properties simultaneously, the same object also has multiple occult properties simultaneously. The physical properties of an object are things like width, height, depth, weight, colour, shape, etc. Physical objects have all of these properties at once. A large part of magic is devoted to two types of hidden properties. The first property is the elements, and there are 5: spirit, air, water, fire, and earth. The second major type of hidden property is the planets, and there are 7: the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. The 5 elements of the magicians were allegedly derived from the 4 elements the Greeks claimed all things were made from. After more research, especially in the Greek philosophers such as Plato and Aristotle, who I suspect had occult knowledge, I am more convinced that the reverse is true and that the Greeks based their belief of the 4 elements air, water, earth and fire on the magicians. 5 elements. The term the elements remains with us to this day. To be exposed to the elements is to be left outside and exposed to rain, which is water, dirt, which is earth, air, which is air, and sunlight, which is fire. Magicians also make references to other properties. Some truly are as generic as positive and negative, while other hidden properties may be a living being like a spirit. As stated previously, a spirit can be bound to an object. The nature of these hidden properties, both elemental and planetary, is measured in personality rather than the mathematically sound inches and pounds that physical properties are measured by. Each of the elements and planets has correspondences to almost everything imaginable, everything from body parts to odours to points on the compass to angels. Listening to magicians explain why that odour or that stone or that type of tree corresponds to a particular planet certainly makes for some comedy. So not only can someone insert the influence of, say, Jupiter into an object, but the physical makeup of the object makes it inclined towards a particular planetary or elemental influence. In this case, one would choose objects whose physical properties lent themselves to Jupiter. Many people believe that things like rabbit's feet have a natural occult essence of luck. I have not heard an occultist comment on this, but it's no more absurd than spitting into a frog's mouth. The metal copper, for instance, is inclined to the influence of Venus. Therefore, copper is a venereal metal. Venereal Venus, the goddess of lust and sex. Go figure. But planetary or spiritual properties aren't the only hidden properties an object or given space has. There are also threads that permanently bind every material particle to every other particle that it has ever come in contact with. Imagine for a moment that every time you touch an object, small threads remain that tie your hand to that object forever. The more times you touch that object, the more threads between you and it are created. The average person would therefore have many residual threads between them and the fabrics in their clothes and furniture. But also fluids or solids that pass through or came from your body would naturally have many lingering threads because of the length of time they were in your body and sheer surface area. Contact the things like sweat, blood, semen, hair, milk or skin would likely contain more lingering threads than urine or feces. This web that binds all things, the Force from Star Wars, goes by many names: the Akasha Indra's web, the web of word, the web of life and the Force. Essentially, everything you've ever touched or excreted is still touching you. Most of this material has decomposed into the earth, returned to the ocean or rotting in a landfill. Naturally, a magician would find things like your clothes, hair, blood and extremely personal items useful if he desired to target you, as it makes for an easy way for him to describe your whereabouts to a spirit. This web that binds all things makes it possible for objects and spaces to essentially record events. Which brings us to the problem of ghosts. Ghosts are usually thought of as spirit beings who roam or haunt a given place. Some ghosts repeat the same actions over and over again, while other ghosts seem to interact with people and objects in our world.